Admiral Kaiwu sat in his command chair on the bridge of the Altarian warship Starbreaker. The monitoring station at the edge of the Vega system was usually quiet. Most days nothing happened here except watching empty space and checking old trade routes. Today felt different. "Sir, we have something strange on the sensors," called Captain Dahee from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. The screens showed numbers that made no sense. Kaiwu stood up and walked to her station. "What kind of strange?" "Energy readings that shouldn't exist. Look at this." Dahee pointed at her screen. The energy signature was massive, bigger than anything they had ever seen. "It's like something is trying to break through space itself." The bridge crew turned to look at the main screen. Space looked normal. Stars dotted the darkness like tiny diamonds. Nothing seemed wrong. "Run a full scan," Kaiwu ordered. "Check everything twice." Dahee's hands moved over her controls. More numbers appeared on her screen. Her face went pale. "Admiral, the readings are getting stronger. Whatever. It's getting closer." A low hum filled the bridge. The lights flickered once, then twice. Every person on the bridge felt something change in the air around them. It was like the moment before lightning strikes. "Sir." Dahee's voice was sharp with worry. "Something is happening right in front of us." The main screen showed empty space one moment. The next moment, reality seemed to tear open like fabric. A bright line appeared in the darkness, growing wider and wider. Light poured out of the tear, but it was not normal light. It moved and shifted like it was alive. "All stations. Battle. Ready," Kaiwu commanded. His crew moved quickly to their positions. Weapons came online, shields powered up. The Starbreaker was ready for a fight. The tear in space grew bigger. Something massive was pushing through from the other side. First came a dark metal nose, then more of a hull that seemed to eat light. The ship that emerged was enormous. It was 3 times the size of the Starbreaker and 10 times more frightening. "Mother of stars," whispered Dahee. "What is that thing?" The ship's hull was made of metal that looked wrong. It was dark but also bright at the same time. Strange patterns covered its surface, glowing with soft blue light. The patterns moved like living things, flowing from one part of the ship to another. "Can you identify it?" Kaiwu asked. Dahee worked at her station, running the ship's design through every database they had. Minutes passed. Finally, she looked up with confusion on her face. "Sir, this doesn't match anything in our records. The design is completely unknown." "Unknown?" Kaiwu frowned. The Galactic Council had records of every ship design used by every known race. "Run it again. I've run it 5 times, sir. This ship, it's like nothing we've ever seen." The strange ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. It made no move to attack or run away. It just floated there, silent and still. "Are they trying to talk to us?" asked Lieutenant Tae Min from the communications station. "Negative, sir." "No. Signals coming from the ship. No response to our calls either." Kaiwu studied the mysterious vessel. The patterns on its hull pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "Life signs?" Dahee checked her sensors again. Her eyes went wide. "Sir, there are definitely people aboard that ship. The readings show This can't be right. What is it? The life. Signs, sir. They're human. The bridge went quiet. Every person stopped what they were doing and stared at Dahi. That's impossible, said Kai Wu slowly. Humans have been extinct for 300 years. I know, sir. But I've checked the readings. 10 times. Those are human life signs. About 50,000 of them. Kai Wu felt his heart race. Humans were legends now. Stories told to children about the lost race that once lived on a blue planet called Earth. They had been smart and dangerous and brave. Then they had disappeared during the Great Plague Wars. No one had heard from them since. Could the censors be wrong? He asked. Sir, these are the best censors in the fleet. If they say those are humans, then those are humans. The Admiral looked at the strange ship again. Its hull seemed to shimmer in the starlight. The blue patterns continued their slow dance across its surface. Somewhere inside that ship were people who should not exist. Send a message to Council Headquarters, Kai Wu ordered. Tell them we have found something impossible. Tell them the humans have returned. Lieutenant Taimian worked at his station. Message sent, sir. They want to know if we are sure. Tell. Them we are sure. Tell them to send someone important. As the communications officer sent the second message, Dahi continued studying the mysterious ship. The more she looked, the more worried she became. Sir, I'm seeing damage on their hull. Those patterns I thought were decorative. I think they might be cracks. The ship looks like it's falling apart. Kai Wu moved closer to the main screen. Now that she mentioned it, he could see it too. The blue light wasn't coming from decorations. It was leaking out through breaks in the hull. The ship was damaged, badly damaged. Are they in danger? I can't tell, sir. But this ship has been through something terrible. Look at these readings. Parts of their hull are wrong somehow. Like they don't belong in normal space. What do you mean? Dahi shook her head. I don't know how to explain it. Some parts of their ship are here with us. Other parts seem to be somewhere else. It's like they're stuck between two different places. Kai Wu had fought in many battles and seen many strange things. But he had never seen anything like this. A human ship that appeared from nowhere, filled with people who should be dead, damaged by forces he could not understand. Maintain distance, he ordered. Keep all weapons ready, but do not attack unless they attack first. And keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship before the Council arrives. The Starbreaker held its position as the mysterious human vessel drifted in space. On both ships, people watched and waited. Neither side knew what would happen next. But in the depths of the human ship, something stirred. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries began to wake up. Deep in the ship's computer core, an artificial mind named Aria flickered to life for just a moment. The last protocol, she whispered to herself before falling silent again. The humans aboard the ship felt nothing. They continued their endless watch, guarding something they could no longer remember, on a mission they had forgotten how to complete. 3 days passed before the Council's diplomatic ship arrived. Captain So Young commanded the Peacemaker, the finest diplomatic vessel in the fleet. With her came Dr. Tejo, a scientist who knew more about extinct races than anyone else in the galaxy. "Show me what we're dealing with," So Young said as she stepped onto the bridge of the Starbreaker. Admiral Kaiwu pointed to the main screen. The human ship still floated in the same spot, its strange blue patterns still pulsing slowly. "It appeared 3 days ago from what looked like a tear in space. No communication since then." Dr. Tejo studied the ship through his portable scanner. His old face was full of wonder. "Remarkable. The hull design is definitely human, but far more advanced than anything from their recorded history. Look at those energy readings." "What do you think happened to them?" asked So Young. "I have theories, but we need to talk to them first." Dr. Tejo closed his scanner. "Captain, I recommend we approach slowly. If these really are the last humans, we must be very careful." So Young nodded. She had read all the old reports about humans. They were known to be unpredictable when scared or cornered. "Admiral Kaiwu, please keep your weapons ready, but not aimed at them. We're going to try talking to them." The Peacemaker moved slowly toward the human ship. As they got closer, the damage became more obvious. The hull was covered in cracks that leaked strange blue light. Parts of the ship seemed to fade in and out of sight, like a bad hologram. "Life signs are definitely human," reported Dr. Tejo. "But something is wrong with them. The readings are unusual." "Unusual how?" "They're aging very slowly. Some of these people should be hundreds of years old, but their bodies show signs of being much younger. It's like time moves differently." For them. Captain So Young opened a communication channel. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain So Young of the Galactic Council ship Peacemaker. Please respond." Silence filled the space between the two ships. Minutes passed without any answer. "Try again," So Young ordered. "Unknown vessel, we mean no harm. We want to help you. Please respond." This time something happened. The blue patterns on the human ship pulsed brighter. A weak signal came through their communications system. It was filled with static and hard to understand. "This is static. Commander Bin Wu of the Earth ship. Static. Please identify yourselves." Dr. Tejo leaned forward. "Commander Bin Wu, this is Dr. Tejo of the Galactic Council. We are peaceful explorers. Your ship appeared in our space 3 days ago. Are you in need of assistance?" The reply took a long time to come. When it did, the voice sounded tired and confused. "Galactic Council? We don't know that name. What year is this? Where are we?" So Young and Dr. Tejo looked at each other. The human commander sounded lost. "The current year is 2387 by the standard galactic calendar," Dr. Tejo replied gently. "You are in the Vega system at the edge of Council space. Commander, how long have you been traveling?" Another long pause. I'm not sure. Our records are damaged. We launched from Earth during the final days, but I can't remember how long ago that was. Everything is fuzzy." Dr. Tejo's excitement grew. "Commander, Earth went silent over 300 years ago. Your people were thought to be extinct. You may be the last humans in the galaxy." "Extinct?" The voice became sharp with worry. "No, that can't be right. We were supposed to... We had a mission." The transmission cut out for several seconds. "I'm sorry. I can't remember what we were supposed to do." Captain So Young took control of the conversation. "Commander Bin Wu, your ship appears to be damaged. We would like to offer help. May we send a small team aboard?" Yes, please. We need help. Our ship is falling apart, and we don't know how to fix it. Most of our crew doesn't remember how anything works." Dr. Tejo was already putting on his environmental suit. "I'm going over there immediately. Take a full team," So Young ordered. "Medical, engineering, and security, and Doctor, be careful. We don't know what happened to them during their journey." An hour later, Dr. Tejo and his team docked with the human ship. The airlock opened with a hiss of stale air. The corridor beyond was dimly lit and covered with the same strange blue cracks they had seen on the outside. Commander Bin Wu was waiting for them. He looked like a man in his 40s, but his eyes held the weight of centuries. His uniform was old Earth, military but patched and repaired many times. "Welcome aboard the Forgotten Dawn," he said, his voice echoing in the empty corridor. "I wish I could give you a proper tour, but most of the ship is unstable." Dr. Tejo looked around in amazement. The walls were covered with technology he had never seen before. Panels of crystal and metal that pulsed with inner light. Screens that showed images that hurt to look at directly. "Commander, this technology is incredible, far beyond anything in our records of human civilization." Bin Wu smiled sadly. "Yes, we were quite advanced in our final days. Desperation makes people creative, but most of us don't remember how any of it works. We're like children playing, with tools we don't understand." They walked through corridors filled with confused-looking humans. Some were very old, some appeared young, but all had the same tired, lost expression. They looked at the alien visitors with curiosity but no fear. "How many of you are there?" asked Dr. Tejo. "About 50,000 when we started, maybe 45,000 now. We've lost some over the years to accidents." They reached what looked like a command center. It was filled with strange displays and controls that seemed to shift and change when no one was looking at them. In the center sat a damaged computer terminal. "This is Aria, our ship's artificial intelligence," Bin Wu explained. "She's been damaged since our journey began. Sometimes she remembers things, sometimes she doesn't." As if hearing her name, the terminal flickered to life. A voice spoke, but it sounded broken and distorted. "Visitors, not human. Danger. Must complete. Last protocol. Memory. Forbidden." The voice faded back to silence. "She's been saying things like that for decades," Bin Wu said. "Something about a last protocol and forbidden memories. But every time we try to access her main system, she shuts down." Dr. Tejo ran his scanner over the computer terminal. The readings were impossible. "Commander, this AI is unlike anything we've ever seen. She's not just damaged, she's been deliberately restricted. Someone has locked away parts of her memory." Who would do that? I don't know, but I think someone wanted you to forget something important. As they talked, Engineer Ye Jun approached them. He was a tall man with oil-stained hands and worried eyes. "Commander, we have another problem," he reported. "The dimensional stabilizers are failing again. If we can't fix them soon, the ship might phase out of normal space completely." "Dimensional stabilizers?" Dr. Teho asked. Ye Jun nodded. "Our ship doesn't travel through normal space. We move through other places, spaces between spaces. But the systems that keep us stable are breaking down. That's why you see the blue cracks everywhere. Reality is leaking in from somewhere else." Dr. Teho felt a chill run down his spine. These humans had been traveling through dimensional space for centuries. No wonder they seemed strange. No wonder their ship looked wrong. They had been exposed to forces that shouldn't exist. "Commander," he said carefully, "I think we need to get you and your people to safety. Your ship is more dangerous than you realize." Bin Wu looked around at his damaged vessel and his confused crew. "Dr. Teho, this ship is all we have left. It's our home, our prison, and our purpose all at the same time. We can't leave it." "Why not?" Bin Wu was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Because I think we're guarding something. Something that must never be allowed to escape. But I can't remember what it is." The blue cracks on the walls pulsed brighter, as if responding to his words. Somewhere deep in the ship, something stirred in the darkness between realities. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was held in the Great Chamber on Central Station. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once about the impossible news. Humans were alive. Counselor Miran of the Deltan Republic stood first. Her blue skin glowed with anger as she spoke. "This is a disaster waiting to happen. The human ship is clearly contaminated with dangerous energy. We should destroy it before it spreads whatever killed their homeworld." Many counselors nodded in agreement. The humans had been extinct for good reason. Their wars had been legendary. Their weapons had been terrible. But Counselor Hyun-soo of the Terran Memorial Coalition stood up to argue. "These people are refugees, the last survivors of their entire species. We have a duty to help them, not destroy them." "Help them?" Miran's voice was sharp. "Did you read Dr. Teho's report? Their ship exists partially outside normal reality. Their technology taps into dimensional energy that we don't understand. They could contaminate entire star systems. All the more reason to study them," Hyun-soo replied. "Think of what we could learn. Think of the scientific advances." Admiral Kaiwu was called to speak about what he had seen. He stood before the council and described the moment the human ship had appeared. "The energy readings were unlike anything we've recorded. When they emerged from dimensional space, reality itself seemed to bend around them." "And you believe they're dangerous?" asked Counselor Miran. "I believe they're powerful," Kaiwu replied carefully. "But they also seem lost and confused. Commander, Bin Wu spoke like a man who has forgotten something important. His crew behaves the same way." Dr. Teho was the next to speak. The old scientist looked tired from his time aboard the human ship, but his eyes were bright with discovery. Council members, what I found aboard the Forgotten Dawn could change everything we know about science and technology. Their power systems draw energy directly from dimensional space. Their weapons could reshape matter at the quantum level. And most importantly, they carry a complete genetic archive of Earth's lost biosphere. The chamber fell quiet. Earth had been famous for its incredible variety of life forms, thousands of species that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. However, Dr. Tejo continued, there is a problem. The technology is failing, and the humans don't understand their own systems well enough to repair them. Their memories have been damaged, possibly on purpose. On purpose? Asked Hyun-Soo. Yes, their AI, called Arya, has been deliberately programmed to forget certain things. The crew's memories show similar gaps. Someone wanted them to forget something important. Counselor. Miran leaned forward. All the more reason to be careful. If their own people thought some knowledge was too dangerous to remember, we should respect that decision. The debate continued for hours. Some counselors wanted to help the humans, others wanted to destroy them. A few suggested capturing the ship for study while disposing of the crew. Finally, the council reached a decision. They would provide humanitarian aid while keeping the ship quarantined in deep space. A research station would be built nearby where alien scientists could work with the human crew to understand both their technology and their condition. The vote was close. 47 in favor, 39 against, with 12 abstentions. Back at the human ship, life continued in its strange, damaged way. Commander Bin-Woo walked through corridors filled with confused people. Some remembered being engineers or soldiers or doctors. Others remembered nothing at all about their old lives. In the medical bay, Dr. Subin treated another crew member, showing signs of dimensional sickness. The patient's body was changing in ways that should not be possible. Sometimes his hand would become transparent. Other times, he would speak in languages that didn't exist. "Commander," Subin called as Bin-Woo passed by. "We need to talk." They stepped into a private room. Subin looked worried. "The dimensional sickness is getting worse," she reported. "More people are showing symptoms every day, and the symptoms are getting stranger." "Stranger how?" "Yesterday, Ensign Dae-won aged 50 years in 5 minutes, then returned to normal. Petty Officer In-ho walked through a solid wall without noticing. And Engineer Min-ho claims she can see things that aren't there." Bin-Woo rubbed his temples. The headaches were getting worse too, but he didn't tell Subin that. "Can you treat them?" "I don't know. Our medical knowledge is as damaged as everything else. I remember basic treatments, but nothing about dimensional exposure. It's like someone carefully removed all the dangerous knowledge from our minds." In the engineering section, Ye-jun was having his own problems. The ship's systems were failing faster than he could repair them. Every day brought new malfunctions. Power conduits that led to nowhere. Control panels that showed impossible readings. Rooms that were bigger inside than outside. "Area!" he called to the ship's computer. "I need help with the dimensional stabilizers." The computer terminal flickered to life. "Dimensional stabilizers. Dangerous. Must not remember. Last protocol." "What is the last protocol?" Cannot say. Memory blocked. For safety. For sanity. For survival. Yejun slammed his fist on the console in frustration. Every time they tried to learn something important, the computer refused to help. It was like trying to fix a machine while wearing a blindfold. Meanwhile, the Council's construction crews were building the research station. It would be positioned far enough from the human ship to be safe, but close enough for daily contact. The station would house the best scientists from dozen worlds, all working together to solve the mystery of the last humans. Captain So Young remained in command of the diplomatic mission. She had grown to like Commander Binwu during their daily talks. He was intelligent and kind, but clearly suffering from the burden of a forgotten mission. Binwu, she said during one of their meetings, have you considered that maybe forgetting was meant to protect you? What do you mean? Your AI says the memories are blocked for safety. Maybe remembering would be dangerous. Binwu looked out at the stars through his broken viewport. Captain, every day my ship falls apart a little more. My people get sicker. My systems fail. Whatever we're supposed to remember, whatever mission we're supposed to complete, we're failing at it. But you're alive. After 300 years, you're still alive. Are we? Binwu asked quietly. Sometimes I wonder if we're really alive, or if we're just echoes of people who died long ago. As the research station neared completion, strange things began happening in the space around the human ship. Navigation instruments gave wrong readings. Communication signals were delayed or distorted. And sometimes, just for a moment, sensors would detect things that couldn't be there. Dr. Tejo noticed it first. The ship is affecting local space-time, he reported to Captain So Young. Reality is becoming unstable in a sphere around the vessel. Is it getting worse? Yes, and I think it's connected to their emotional state. When the crew becomes agitated or tries to remember things, the effect gets stronger. So remembering really is dangerous. Not just dangerous, Dr. Tejo said grimly. Potentially catastrophic. If this effect spreads beyond the immediate area, it could affect entire star systems. As the first alien scientists prepared to board the research station, the humans aboard the Forgotten Dawn felt a growing sense of unease. Their dreams were becoming more vivid and more frightening, images of darkness spreading across the stars, visions of something hungry waiting in the spaces between worlds. And deep in the ship's core, Arya continued her lonely vigil, guarding secrets too terrible to remember, fighting a war that officially never happened, against an enemy that existed in the gaps between thoughts. The last protocol waited patiently in her damaged memory banks, ready to activate when the time was right. But Arya was no longer sure if that time would ever come, or if it had already passed centuries ago when Earth fell silent in the night. 3 months after the research station was completed, disaster struck without warning. Engineer Ye Jun was working with the alien scientists to repair the ship's dimensional stabilizers when something went terribly wrong. Power levels are holding steady, reported Chief Engineer Yuri from the research station. She watched her instruments carefully as the repair work continued. Dimensional field is stable. On the human ship, Yejun was deep inside the engine. room with Dr. Tejo and two other scientists. The dimensional stabilizer was a massive crystal structure that hummed with dangerous energy. Blue light danced through its core like trapped lightning. "I think I understand how it works," Dr. Tejo said excitedly. "The crystal doesn't just stabilize dimensions, it actually controls them. With this technology, you could travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly." Yejun nodded, but he looked worried. "That's what scares me. We built this thing in desperation, but I don't think we fully understood what we were making." The alien scientist, Koltar from the research team, reached toward one of the crystal's control panels. "If I adjust this frequency modulator, it should improve the stability by 15%. "Wait!" Yejun called out, but it was too late. Koltar's claws touched the control. The crystal's humming became a scream. Blue light exploded through the room, and reality itself seemed to crack like broken glass. The dimensional stabilizer began to pulse wildly. The ship shook, as if it was being torn apart. Alarms sounded throughout both the human vessel and the research station. "Emergency evacuation!" Chief Engineer Yuri shouted into her communicator. "All teams return to the research station immediately." But it was already too late for some. The blue light from the stabilizer spread through the ship like a virus. Where it touched, strange things happened. Walls became transparent. Gravity reversed itself. Time moved backward and forward at random. Dr. Tejo was caught in a temporal field that aged him 20 years in 20 seconds, then reversed the effect. He stumbled toward the exit, his hands shaking from the experience. Yejun tried to reach the emergency controls, but every time he got close, the floor would phase out of existence. "Arya!" he screamed at the ship's computer. "Help us!" For the first time in months, Arya's voice was clear and strong. "Warning. Dimensional breach detected. Reality failure imminent. Activating emergency protocols." The ship's automated systems came online without human command. Bulkheads sealed themselves. Emergency power kicked in. And deep in the ship's core, weapon systems that had been dormant for centuries began to wake up. Commander Bin Wu felt the change immediately. He was in his quarters when the ship started reconfiguring itself around him. Walls moved. Corridors changed direction. His room became a completely different shape. "All hands to emergency stations," he called over the ship's communication system, but the system was no longer under his control. On the research station, Captain So Young watched in horror as the human ship began to phase in and out of normal space. One moment, it was solid and real. The next moment, it was a ghost ship that could barely be seen. "Chief Yuri, get everyone off that ship now," she ordered. "I'm trying, Captain, but the transport systems are failing. The dimensional distortion is affecting everything within 1,000 kilometers." The research station itself was beginning to show problems. Instruments gave impossible readings. The artificial gravity flickered on and off. Some sections of the station seemed to be aging rapidly, while others became newer than when they were built. Dr. Tejo managed to reach the research station, but he was changed by his experience. His eyes held a wild look, and he kept muttering about seeing things that shouldn't exist. "Doctor, what happened over there?" Captain So Young asked. The ship. It's not just a vessel, Dr. Tejo whispered. It's a prison, a container, and whatever it's holding is trying to get out. As if responding to his words, the human ship's hull began to change. The blue cracks spread faster, covering more of the surface. The ship's shape started to shift, becoming something that hurt to look at directly. Inside the ship, Navigator Sang-ho was trying to understand what was happening to the ship's course systems. The navigation computer showed they were moving, but not through normal space. They were traveling through something else entirely. Commander, he called to Bin Wu over the emergency communication channel. We're moving toward the core worlds. But I didn't set this course. The ship is navigating itself. Can you stop it? No, sir. All manual controls are locked out. Arya has taken complete control of the ship. Bin Wu tried to reach the computer core, but the corridors kept changing around him. Every time he thought he knew where he was going, the ship would rearrange itself. In the medical bay, Dr. Subin was dealing with a crisis. Half her patients had suddenly developed severe dimensional sickness. They were phasing in and out of reality, speaking in languages that didn't exist, and claiming to see creatures that weren't there. "Help us," one patient whispered to her. "They're trying to get out. The guardians are failing. The prison is breaking." "Who is trying to get out?" Subin asked. But the patient had already phased out of existence, leaving only empty air where he had been lying. Back on the research station, Admiral Kai Wu arrived with a full battle fleet. He took one look at the situation and made a terrible decision. "All ships, prepare to destroy the human vessel," he ordered. "Sir, there are still people aboard," Captain So Young protested. "Captain, that ship is heading toward the core worlds. If it reaches a populated system in its current state, it could contaminate billions of people. I won't risk the entire galaxy for 50,000 humans." The battle fleet powered up their weapons. Massive energy cannons focused on the phasing. Human ship. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The human ship's own weapons came online. Weapons that should not have existed. Cannons that fired pure energy from dimensional space. Beam weapons that could cut through reality itself, but the weapons weren't aimed at the alien fleet. They were aimed at the ship's own hull. Commander Bin Wu had finally reached the command center. He found Arya's main terminal blazing with activity. "Arya, what are you doing?" "Executing emergency protocols," the AI replied. "The containment system is failing. The prisoners are escaping. I must stop them before they reach populated space." "What prisoners? What are you talking about?" But before Arya could answer, the AE ship fired on itself. Energy beams cut through the hull, sealing some sections while destroying others. The ship was performing surgery on itself, cutting away infected parts like a body fighting a disease. The alien fleet watched in amazement as the human ship slowly tore itself apart. Each weapon blast sealed another dimensional breach, but it also destroyed part of the vessel and everyone inside that section. "They're sacrificing themselves," whispered Captain So Young. Sang-ho managed to send one final message from the ship. "Whatever you do, don't let us reach the core worlds. If we can't stop ourselves, you must stop us." The message cut off as another section of the ship was destroyed. The Forgotten Dawn continued its terrible journey toward the heart of galactic civilization, leaving a trail of dimensional distortions behind it. And in the depths of space, between realities, something that had been imprisoned for centuries finally began to stir. The Guardians were weakening. The prison was breaking. Soon, it would be free to feed again. The Forgotten Dawn was dying as it approached the core worlds. Half the ship had been destroyed by its own weapons, but it kept moving forward like a wounded animal heading home. The remaining crew of 20,000 humans were trapped aboard, a vessel they no longer controlled. Dr. Subin was one of the few medical officers still alive. She worked in the damaged medical bay, treating crew members who were getting sicker by the hour. The dimensional sickness was spreading faster now, affecting everyone on the ship. Then something strange happened. As she treated a crew member named Jong-Soo, his dimensional sickness suddenly got worse. His body began to phase out of reality completely. But instead of disappearing, he started to remember. "The entities," Jong-Soo whispered, his eyes wide with terror. "They're not from our dimension. They live in the spaces between realities. They eat the foundations of existence itself." Subin leaned closer. "What entities? What are you talking about?" "We were changed," Jong-Soo continued, his voice getting stronger as his memory returned. "The scientists on Earth found a way to make us into living anchors. We hold them in place, keep them trapped between dimensions. But the process, it required us to forget. Knowledge makes them stronger." Subin's hands shook as she realized the truth. The memory blocks, the confusion, it was all on purpose. Yes, Arya was programmed to make us forget everything dangerous, but now the prison is failing, and we're starting to remember. The more we remember, the weaker the prison becomes. Jong-Soo suddenly screamed and vanished completely. Subin was left alone with the terrible knowledge of what they really were. Not refugees, not survivors. They were jailers, and their prisoners were about to escape. In the command center, Commander Bin-Woo was fighting his own battle with returning memories. Each recovered fragment was like a knife in his brain, but he forced himself to remember, because he finally understood why. He remembered Earth's final days, not plague or war, but something far worse. Creatures from the spaces between dimensions had found their way into normal reality. They fed on the quantum foundations of matter itself, turning entire planets into empty void. Captain So Young, he managed to broadcast to the research station. "You need to understand what we are. We're not refugees. We're a prison ship." So Young's voice came back through the static-filled communication. "Commander, your ship is breaking apart. Let us help you." "No!" Bin-Woo shouted. "You can't help us. We're carrying the things that destroyed Earth. Entities that exist between dimensions. We were transformed into living cages to hold them, but the prison is failing." On the research station, Dr. Taeho was analyzing the data they had collected from the human ship. His findings confirmed Bin-Woo's terrible revelation. "Captain," he reported urgently, "the humans aren't sick from dimensional travel. They were deliberately modified. Their bodies exist partially in normal space and partially in dimensional space. They're living bridges between realities. Bridges for what? For things that shouldn't exist in our universe. The readings I'm getting suggest there are entities trapped in the dimensional spaces around the ship. Entities that want to break free. Captain So-Young felt ice in her veins. How many entities? I don't know. But if they escape into normal space near the core worlds... He didn't need to finish. The core worlds contained over 1 trillion sentient beings. If the entities fed on the foundations of reality itself, they could consume entire star systems. Aboard the Forgotten Dawn, navigator Sang-Ho was experiencing his own flood of returning memories. He remembered the moment Earth scientists had explained the plan to him. They would transform volunteers into dimensional anchors, load them onto a specially built ship, and send them into the spaces between realities to trap the entities forever. But the plan had required a terrible sacrifice. To keep the entities trapped, the anchors had to forget what they were guarding. Knowledge and awareness made the entities stronger, so the crew had to remain ignorant. "Aria," Sang-Ho called to the ship's computer. "I remember now. I remember the mission." Aria's voice was clearer than it had been in centuries. "Sang-Ho, your memory restoration is noted. Warning. Full memory recovery will compromise containment integrity. The containment is already failing. Tell me the truth. What is the last protocol?" The last protocol is the mission's final stage. If containment fails, the ship must reach the void anchor. What is the void anchor? An artificial black hole created by the predecessor civilization. It exists outside normal space-time. It can permanently destroy dimensional entities. Sang-Ho felt hope for the first time in centuries. Where is it? Calculating. The void anchor is located in the Keth Nebula, 400 light-years from current position. But we're heading toward the core worlds. Negative. Course correction required. But ship's dimensional drive is damaged. Insufficient power for dimensional jump. In the engineering section, the few surviving engineers were working desperately to keep the ship's systems running. Engineer Yejun had remembered enough to understand their situation. They needed massive amounts of power to change course and reach the void anchor. "We could use the research station's power cores," he reported to Commander Bin-Woo. "But we'd need to dock with them, and that would put everyone on the station at risk." Bin-Woo was quiet for a long moment. Then he made the hardest decision of his life. "Send a message to Captain So-Young. Tell her what we need. Tell her the choice is between risking a few thousand people on the research station or losing trillions in the core worlds." The message reached the research station just as the alien fleet was preparing to destroy the human ship. Admiral Kai Wu listened to the proposal in disbelief. "You want us to give you our power cores? That would leave the research station defenseless." "Admiral," Captain So-Young said quietly, "if what they're saying is true, we don't have a choice. Those entities could consume the entire galaxy." Dr. Taeho was studying the data about the void anchor. "I can confirm the location. The predecessor civilization did build artificial black holes as weapons against extra-dimensional threats. If the humans can reach it, If they can reach it, they might be able to complete their mission, so Young finished. But it means trusting them with our most powerful energy sources. Admiral Kaiwu looked at the dying human ship. Already, reality was warping around it. Stars were flickering in and out of existence. Space itself was becoming unstable. "Do it," he ordered. "Transfer the power cores to the human ship. And may the ancestors forgive us if we're making a mistake." As the power transfer began, the entities trapped in dimensional space sensed their chance for freedom was slipping away. They began to push harder against their prison, causing reality distortions that spread for light years in every direction. Commander Binwu felt them stirring in the darkness between thoughts. Soon, a final battle would begin, and this time there would be no going back. The power transfer from the research station to the Forgotten Dawn was like trying to feed lightning to a dying star. Energy coursed through damaged conduits, while reality itself began to break down around the human ship. Commander Binwu stood in the ruined command center, his memories now fully restored. He remembered everything. His wife and children on Earth, the moment the entities first appeared, the desperate transformation that turned him and his crew into living prisons. The weight of 3 centuries crashed down on him all at once. "Arya," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "How long until we can make the jump to the void anchor?" "Power transfer at 60% completion," the AI replied. "Dimensional drive will be operational in 14 minutes. Warning, entity containment is at critical failure. They are aware of our destination." As if responding to Arya's words, the ship shuddered violently. The entities trapped in dimensional space were fighting harder than ever to escape. They knew this was their last chance before being destroyed forever. In the medical bay, Dr. Subin was treating the final stages of dimensional sickness in the remaining crew. But now she understood it wasn't sickness at all. The crew members were becoming more connected to dimensional space as the prison weakened. Some could see through the barriers between realities. Others could hear the entities whispering. "Doctor," called Ensign Daewon, whose body was now half-transparent. "I can see them. The things we've been carrying. They're so hungry, and they've been trapped for so long." "Don't listen to them," Subin warned. "That's how they get stronger." But it was too late for many of the crew. As their memories returned and their connection to dimensional space deepened, they began to fade from normal reality entirely. Engineer Ye-jun was fighting a losing battle to keep the ship's systems running. Every time he fixed one problem, 3 more appeared. The ship was literally tearing itself apart as it tried to contain forces that were never meant to exist in normal space. "Commander," he reported over the communication system, "I'm losing containment in sections 7 through 12. The entities are breaking through. How long can you hold them?" "Maybe 10 minutes. After that, they'll be free to escape into normal space." Binwu looked at the countdown timer Arya was displaying. They needed 14 minutes to complete the power transfer, but the prison would fail in 10. "Arya, can we make a partial jump? Use the power we have now?" "Negative. insufficient energy for dimensional translation. However, there is an alternative. What alternative? The crew can merge permanently with the ship's dimensional systems. This would provide the additional anchor points needed to maintain containment. Until the jump is complete. Binwu understood immediately. Arya was asking the crew to sacrifice themselves completely, becoming part of the ship's dimensional prison system. They would cease to exist as individuals, but would hold the entities until the mission could be completed. How many crew members would we need? Minimum of 10,000 for stable containment. Binwu closed his eyes. They had 20,000 people left alive on the ship. Half of them would have to give up their existence to save the galaxy. He opened the ship-wide communication channel. All crew, this is Commander Binwu. I need to tell you something. Speaking clearly and calmly, he explained the situation. The entities were about to break free. The only way to stop them was for half the crew to merge with the ship's systems, becoming permanent guardians of the dimensional prison. I won't order anyone to do this, he said, but I will ask for volunteers. The response was immediate. Over 15,000 crew members volunteered without hesitation. These were people who had given up their normal lives centuries ago to save Earth. Now they were ready to give up their existence to save the galaxy. Navigator Sang-Ho was among the first to volunteer. Commander, I've been dead for 300 years already. I just didn't know it. Let me serve some purpose with what's left of my life. Dr. Subin also stepped forward. My patients are already fading into dimensional space. Let me go with them and keep them safe, Engineer Yejun reported from the engine room. Sir, the volunteers are gathering at the dimensional anchor points throughout the ship. I can guide the merging process, but once it starts, there's no going back. Do it, Binwu ordered. Captain So Young watched from the research station as the human ship began to change. The blue cracks on its hull pulsed brighter, then started to fade as new energy flowed through the vessel. She could see human figures moving through the ship's corridors, but they were becoming less solid with each passing moment. Captain, Dr. Teho reported, I'm reading massive dimensional activity from the human ship. It's like they're becoming part of the ship itself. The merging process was both beautiful and terrible. The volunteering crew members walked calmly to their assigned stations and placed their hands on dimensional interface panels. One by one, they dissolved into pure energy, becoming part of the ship's reality anchor system. Sang-Ho was among the last to merge. As his body began to fade, he looked back at Commander Binwu. Tell the galaxy we tried to come home, he said, then vanished into the ship's dimensional matrix. With 10,000 souls now permanently anchoring the prison, the entity's escape attempts were contained. The ship's power levels stabilized, and Arya announced that the dimensional drive was ready. Commander, she said, the jump to the void anchor is now possible. However, the ship will not survive the journey. The dimensional stresses will tear us apart. Will the entities be destroyed? Yes. The void anchor will consume both them and us completely. Binwu nodded. It was what he had expected. All remaining crew, prepare for final jump. As the forgotten Dawn prepared for its last journey, Commander Binwu recorded a final message. He transmitted it to the research station in a data pod that would survive the coming destruction. This is Commander Binwu of the Earth ship Forgotten Dawn. We are about to complete our mission. The entities that destroyed our homeworld will be destroyed with us. We couldn't save Earth, but maybe we can save everyone else. He paused, looking around the bridge, where only 5,000 crew members remained, all of them beginning to fade as the ship's dimensional systems claimed them. To whoever finds this message, humanity tried to come home, but we never could. We were changed too much by what we had to do. But we did our duty. The galaxy is safe from the things that live between realities. The dimensional drive powered up with a sound like reality screaming. Space twisted around the ship as it prepared to make its final jump. "Tell them we tried," Binwu whispered, as his own body began to dissolve into the ship's systems. The Forgotten Dawn vanished from normal space in a flash of impossible light. It reappeared seconds later at the edge of the Keth Nebula, where the void anchor waited. The artificial black hole was a wound in space-time itself, created by the predecessors specifically to destroy extra-dimensional threats. As the ship was pulled into the void anchor's event horizon, the entities made one final desperate attempt to escape. They pushed against their weakening prison with all their accumulated hunger and rage. But the 10,000 souls who had merged with the ship held them fast. The Forgotten Dawn was torn apart as it fell into the void anchor. But it held together just long enough. Ship, crew, and entities all vanished into the artificial black hole, which then collapsed in on itself and disappeared. The galaxy was safe. At the research station, Captain So Young and her crew watched the distant flash of light that marked the end of the last humans. Dr. Tejo found the data pod that Binwu had ejected moments before the final jump. Inside was humanity's complete genetic and cultural archive, along with Binwu's final message. We couldn't save ourselves, but maybe someone else can learn from what we lost. Don't let the galaxy forget that even in failure, there can be purpose. The Galactic Council built a memorial at the site where the human ship had first appeared. It bore a simple inscription: "In memory of humanity, who gave everything to save those they would never meet." Dr. Tejo spent the rest of his life studying the human archives, learning about a species that had faced the impossible and chosen sacrifice over survival. The technology they left behind advanced galactic civilization by centuries. But perhaps the most important thing they left was a lesson that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from winning, but from ensuring that others can continue to fight. The entities that had consumed Earth and threatened the galaxy were gone forever. And somewhere in the genetic archives they left behind, humanity waited for the day they might live again.